That edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I am glad to be with you tonight. A lot going on as we speak. Basketball, Gators up on North Florida. Broncos tonight treading the Raiders by 7, my old home field there in Denver. And tonight in the program, I'm glad to have Kevin Scarbinsky. He should be joining us momentarily. He's a fine writer from Birmingham who knows the college football scene and basketball scene very well. And we're going to talk with them about what's going on in the world of these coaches getting fired, as I call it, the slaughterhouse dozen. Also tonight, Franz will be joining us after the basketball game. Ben Troupe, 84 Reasons, will be talking to us about what else college football. The Gators playing Kentucky this weekend, and Coach Loren Meadows will be here. We're all going to talk about the money month of November. What do they say? November to remember. It's go time for college football, but some of the coaches are gone. So stand by. We're going to go get our friend Kevin Scarbinsky back here in the Buddy Martin Show. Tell your friends and neighbors we're on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. I'm Buddy Martin in the blue on the left, and he's Kevin Scarbinsky in the black on the right. And I believe this is the first time we've been on this show. I don't know. He's got his own podcast. Does a very fine job. Scarbo Knows. And if you haven't checked him out, be sure and do that. And I'm not sure the regularity, but when it comes on, it's quite good. And he also is a fine writer. Kevin, good evening to you, buddy.
Good evening, buddy. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you. Excuse me, got a little bit of a frog in my throat, but I'll get that out as we work our way through the show. So I want to get with you tonight. We had a really interesting conversation last night with Tony Barnhart and the gang talking about SEC cannibalism. Where we sit tonight, we talk about wanting the 9-game schedule next year. We now have a real mess in our hands with a lot of SEC teams in contention, but 2 Big Ten teams lead the polls, which is not always good. But you know what? There's a reason that happens when you play each other. Half you're going to win, half you're going to lose. I know you saw the first poll that came out Tuesday. What were your thoughts?
Well, a number of thoughts. Obviously, the first time I think the SEC has had 9 playoff poll top 25 that you were just mentioning. So many quality teams, buddy. I don't think we may not have the elite teams at the top of the conference the way we've had, over the last 20 years. Go back to Florida back in the 2000s, and then of course Alabama, what they did, what LSU has done, what Georgia did, Auburn on occasion. I just think there are just more good teams right now, more teams that can beat you, and more teams you can lose to if you're not on your game on a given Saturday. And so to see 9 teams in there and to see Vanderbilt in there for the first time, I thought that was pretty cool. They checked in at number 16. They've never been in a playoff poll before. Mm-hmm. It just shows how good this league is. And if you get the right coach at the right school at the right time, then you can do what Vanderbilt has done under Clark Lee.
Easier said than done. We'll get into that in a minute. I know you have special intel down in Gainesville. I'll talk to you about that information. We'll discuss the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. As I said in my column for tomorrow, there was a famous call famous song called Penny Lane by the Beatles, #1 hit. Now we got a $81 million lane down here, right now. So,
Hey, buddy, I'm proud to say that I've actually been to the Penny Lane in Liverpool, England.
Yes, very good.
I studied at summer school at Oxford University when I was an undergraduate at Troy University, little known fact.
Wow.
And being a huge fan of the Beatles, I made a side trip to Liverpool. So I got to see Strawberry Fields, which was a children's home way, way, way back in the day. That's where the song came from. The gate is actually painted red or strawberry colored. And went to Penny Lane. Yes, there is a roundabout there. So one of the more memorable experiences of my life.
How does a guy get from Troy to Oxford? That's what I want to know. And the reason I say that, no, I'm not throwing off on Oxford because on Troy, because Troy was the only school that offered me a walk-on and out of high school, and I didn't take it. But that was the one only. I didn't get any other offers to play quarterback. But yeah, and I'm familiar with Troy, obviously. So you went to Troy how long?
I graduated in 3 years, got my undergraduate degree in business administration for some reason. That escapes me at the moment all these years later.
That helped
but they did offer every year. Yeah, every year they did offer a scholarship. It usually went to one male student and one female student, and you earned a scholarship to go to a summer school at Oxford University. I was fortunate enough to be named the male student one summer. And my first plane flight ever was from Atlanta to London.
Goodness gracious. My first one was from Ocala to Miami for the Florida Derby, but I was 20. So we'll visit on that sometimes. Actually, you were preparing yourself pretty well for business administration, given the contracts they're giving out these days with coaches and the economics that apply to college football, which I heard Lane Kiffin say something the other day, and I'd like to believe it's true, because I do think money can really kind of choke you up and get you off. I know Steve Spurrier said he'll never take another job for money alone or because of money. And now Lane Kiffin's saying that. It's not about the money, but it is about the money. It always is somewhere about the money. And I don't know. I have kind of a feeling, not to go all biblical on you, but, the lesser money is rooted from all evil, and it seems to be that way for college football right now, doesn't it?
It does, and I like the way you phrase that about it's not about the money, but it is about the money, and it may not be about the money necessarily for you as a head coach. All of these guys at that level are making generational wealth. How much are you going to be able to pay your staff? How much are you going to be able to pay to your coordinators to get two of the best in the country? How much are you going to be able to pay players to come play for you? Because I don't care how good a coach you are. And I go back to the story that Nick Saban told Mal Moore when they were on the jet coming back from Miami to Tuscaloosa after Mal had landed his big fish in South Florida. And Nick said, I don't know how good a coach I am, but I'm a hell of a recruiter. And he certainly was that, and that was the secret sauce. They had better players than almost everybody they played week in and week out. And in addition to that, obviously, they developed them into future NFL draft picks and NFL stars. So Saban had the formula figured out. But what are the ancillary benefits that you're going to have that you really need to build a championship program? And I emphasize the word program. It's harder and harder to do. It's more about building teams year after year now because of the transfer portal and the money available. And guys, if they feel underappreciated or underused, they now have an avenue to hit the road and go try to play somewhere else in a hurry, and maybe for more money.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Florida situation in just a minute here, but I wanted to say that one of the best examples I've ever heard of the pressure to recruit came from Urban Meyer. He told me this, and I put it in the book, that the night they won the national championship the first year, he and his father, Bud, who's now dead, and his old college coach were sitting in the locker room, just sort of glowing about the national championship. And Urban had about 10 minutes. And he thought, oh my gosh, I got to go recruit. I got to go call these kids right now, So it's a 24/7, 7 days a week job. And it's between that and the pressure on the money and now the pressure to win, because there's a short leash in every school now, it seems like. And there's someone who dodged it. DeBoer certainly has righted his ship there at Alabama. What's happened in Texas A&M was a terrific story. And on certainly Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Give me your derby here. Give me your. I'm gonna give you some jobs to fill. Okay. And give me your leading candidates. Let's start. Well, Auburn looks like a slam dunk. They got your man, right?
Well, nothing at Auburn is a slam dunk.
No, but I mean that's the guy, right?
Until it's you're talking about John Summerall, of course.
Yeah.
At Tulane.
Good fit. Perfect.
He's a native of this state from
Right.
Huntsville in North Alabama. His wife is an Auburn graduate.
Yeah.
He has that Pat Dye edge about him that Pat had when he took the Auburn job. And remember, Pat Dye coached at East Carolina and Wyoming as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't coming from a Power 4 program. No one used that phrase back in those days, but he had the right stuff. Of course, he'd been a Georgia player and an Alabama assistant, which was the perfect resume to understand your two biggest rivals. That's why one of the reasons he was successful at Auburn.
Yes.
So John Summerall has he's a ball coach, buddy. And you know what ball coach means, especially Florida people know what ball coach means.
Yeah, don't say old ball coach.
I ran into that with Steve in a conversation or two back in the day. Yeah. Made sure to say head ball coach, not old ball coach.
Right.
But a ball coach, someone who's not, and I keep using this phrase, Auburn doesn't need a poser. They don't need a Brian Harsin who's, putting out Instagram photos of himself bench pressing. They don't need a televangelist like you, Freeze. They need a ball coach.
Yeah.
And that is what John Summerall is. It almost seems it's gotten to the point, buddy. It almost seems too perfect. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody understands it. Everybody sees it. Now, if Auburn can follow through and seal the deal, we'll see.
Kevin Scarbinsky is with us tonight. We appreciate Scarbo Knows is his really good podcast, and Scarbinsky.com is where he lives. And we're going to talk tonight about some of the ugly sides of college football and the good side. But the whole issue at LSU is just, that's such a disaster. I can't even think about it. That's like Picasso's Guernica being slashed with razor blades. You know what I mean? It's a
great reference
to have your multi-million-dollar platinum athletic director who can buy anybody he wants to, bring his coach in and having fired and having the buyout money at $129 million. What a disaster. And now, of course, we'll see because that's still being negotiated. Last time I heard today that they have not settled on Kelly's final check. But and also now they're going to pay the AD off too. So that was about as big a disaster I've seen in college football ever to have that go down. And here's what I want to say, and we'll talk about who might replace him. But Billy Napier got fired, and people said, he was a good guy and a good coach, but just didn't get the job done. You mentioned Auburn. We know Hugh Freeze. Cohen came out and talked about him and raved about him. Was one of the greatest guys he's ever heard of, ever known. Public statement today or yesterday. So, but nobody wants to come to Brian Kelly's defense. Did you notice that?
I did. And you've seen comments from former players that said he never got to know them, never had an individual conversation with them, never called them into their office, talked about them as people, not just football players. And we saw the way he went off on his players, his assistant coaches on the sideline. Now, that's not uncommon. Think back to Nick Saban at Alabama. He spanked A.J. McCarron when A.J. was a backup. He bit Lane Kiffin's head off multiple times. So,
hold on one second. I'm sorry. Man, hold your audio down. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. I'll come back and get you, man. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I thought I was I was talking through a megaphone there for a second at a carnival. Speaking of LSU football, Brian Kelly was not well liked, and this is one reason why Alabama has to bring its A game. I think on Saturday night, LSU's not what it used to be. Alabama's won 12 of the last 14 in that series, 4 of the last 5. It's not what it was when they played the game of the century back in 2011, that 9-6 game, and about 55 guys went to the NFL, most of them defensive starters. Because Frank Wilson, the interim coach at LSU, is well-liked there and well-respected. He's a Louisiana guy. They'll play hard for him. I don't think they're good enough to beat Alabama if both teams play well, but they will bring effort. Brian Kelly had alienated so many people in the program, around the program, supporters of the program. And I think there's that sigh of relief almost, buddy, that it's over. We don't have to deal with this guy anymore. We didn't really buy into him. He came in with the fake accent from the very first day.
That was really bad. When you want to alienate a Southerner, you try doing that.
Try to do a Southern accent, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fake Southern accents on the movies used to drive me nuts. And if you're from here, people don't talk that around anyway. And he just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake. And he was pompous, arrogant, had his own little personal segment on Feinbaum. Why, I don't know exactly. And they must have paid somebody. I just never liked the guy. I never thought he was a good coach. Now, the question is, and we're going to get Ben Troupe to join us here, who goes into LSU? I know Lane Kiffin is one. I don't know that Lane Kiffin wants that noise. I just don't know if he wants that or not. And he may not want it at Gainesville either because he's pretty happy where he is. Give me your assessment of Kiffin in Florida.
Well, it seems from everything that I'm aware of and what you guys have been reporting, and you've been on the front edge of it from the start, as usual, is he's Florida's 1A choice. Now, he may have competition, and I don't know if there's, this better than me, buddy, but, you keep hearing some smoke about the Dolphins perhaps making a run at Lane Kiffin, which would make some sense from a timeline perspective if he does get Ole Miss into the playoff, which they're on the super highway to get there right now, unless they stumble down the stretch, which they shouldn't if they play the way they can play. So you're going to have to wait for Lane Kiffin. And does Florida have the patience for that? I agree with you, though, as far as Lane's perspective and LSU. I think not just him. I think a lot of coaches don't want that circus. They don't want to walk into that clown show. They don't want the governor going off at a press conference talking about the athletic director. They don't want the new president coming in who apparently doesn't understand the meaning of the word interim.
He needs to get a thesaurus.
Yes. He needs that, a PR person, a communications director, someone to explain the English language to him and how college football works. So that's a lot of noise. Coaches don't like – there's enough noise around every college football job without this extraneous chatter, clutter, Nick Saban used to call it, and coaches hate that. They hate anything that diverts from their mission to get their team ready to play each and every Saturday. So I would be, to be honest, I would be very surprised if Lane Kiffin ended up at LSU. This may be one of those wild card jobs, and you've heard the name Lincoln Riley pop up in recent days, that he may be open to possibilities elsewhere other than
you don't know what's leverage and what's real. It's hard to tell. It really is.
It is, and buddy, and agents play these situations.
Jimmy Sexton's the king of leverage.
Nobody plays it better than Jimmy. He's made himself and an awful lot of his clients an awful lot of money because when he starts negotiating with ADs or presidents or lawyers for schools or trustees or boosters or whomever he deals with, it's a mismatch of Georgia Tech Cumberland proportion. He's taken so many schools to the cleaners. He ought to open up a laundromat. It's unbelievable how he has just mismatched and taken these guys, fleeced so many schools. I go back to Auburn and Gus Malzahn's ridiculous extension back in 2017 and the raise that he got, which is why Auburn had to pay him $21.5 million to go away after 2020. So LSU, to me, is the wild card, though. It's attractive in the sense that, 3 straight coaches won a national championship, but they didn't sustain it year in and year out. And even Saban didn't sustain it year in and year out when he was there. And certainly Les Miles didn't. It faded the farther they got away from Nick Saban's recruits. And then Ed O caught lightning in a bottle in 2019 with as good a roster, especially offensively, as you can ever want to have in college football. But those guys didn't sustain it. Here's a fun fact, buddy. LSU is unranked for the 3rd time in the last 6 years when it meets Alabama. Wow. 3 out of 6.
Well,
is that really the great job that everyone says it is?
Yeah.
Because they're the big game in town and they can recruit locally? I'm not so sure.
Well, we're looking around for a coach in Florida. We don't know. We need a coach in waiting and a coach. So after, you got the guy you want, and now you got to come up with 1B. And I don't know who that is. There's a lot of people who not going to buy Drinkwitz. Some of these group of 5 coaches are good coaches, but after what Billy Napier's done, I'm not sure Florida was going to take a group of 5 guy. And let's ask the guy who was from 84 Reasons here, who was a former great tight end, both in the NFL and, of course, the Florida Gators, the jumper, Ben Troupe. And good evening, Ben. Say hello to Kevin Scarbinsky. I'm not sure you guys have met.
Yeah, I've been on with Kevin. How you doing, sir? Always good to be on with you, sir.
I'm good, Ben. Nice to see you again.
All right. Give us a coach, Ben.
Ooh. I mean, I really I know that Brent Keenan had a lot to say. I think he'll be a really, really good coach. I mean, you could sell Eli Drinkwitz. He wouldn't be a fan favorite from the jump. But the thing about Lane Kiffin, I know everybody wants Lane Kiffin, right? But sometimes where you are is showing if you ain't getting it done at Ole Miss, and then you come over here to Florida where everything over here matters. Everything. I think the thing about the head coach of Florida, I think you got to have SEC ties or Southern ties. Some of this stuff, Brian Kelly shows you that just because you at LSU don't mean you're going to get the guys that you covet, because you got to be able to walk into these people's homes. You're not from Louisiana. That's the craziest accent I've ever heard. I've heard coaches trying to make a splash, not like that. So I think anybody that Scott Strickland they got to have SEC ties, and your resume can't be greater than your name. Like Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin, instant. Yep. That's a guy that's going to be able to keep because you got to think early recruiting. You got to think December before you get the national signing day in 2026. Those guys that you already coveted, who was a guy that you could bring in that you can keep some of those guys? And whatever coach you get, they're going to pull some players from wherever they're coming from. They're going to bring some of their players with them. If Billy Napier did anything, he showed the whole world just how hard Florida is to coach. Not saying that people didn't know that before, but I think the lure of Florida is still there. But the smoke, I mean, it's thick and it's hot. So I think when you think about the coach that's coming, if Lane Kiffin don't come to Florida, ain't nobody gonna blame him. But this gonna be a stain on his resume, because they're gonna say, you really didn't want it when it came time. Lane Kiffin is no longer the young hot coordinator anymore. He's not under Nick Saban anymore. If he really wants to be like, did he say he wanted to be like Coach Spurrier growing up? Or is that just he said that, right? Ain't nobody asked him to say that. He said it. If Lane Kiffin don't come, I understand, but it won't matter what he do at Ole Miss if he don't come. It ain't gonna matter, because people gonna say, "Hey man, you want the road, you want the less road travel," or however they say it. That's not gonna happen. No less travel, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that Scott Strickland's under a lot of pressure. He got a lot of pressure these days because you got to replace Coach O'Sullivan. There's a lot of stuff going on in Florida right now. But I don't trust Brent Key. I know what he said, but 352 area code pop up on your phone. You got to pick it up. Mm-hmm. So no matter what he says, but I think Lane Kiffin will be a good. I think he'll be a really, really good fit. But I think Eli Drinkwitz is everything Billy Napier wasn't. They both came from the Sun Belt. It's just Eli doing it in a place that doesn't matter at Mizzou. It's gonna be tricky. It's really gonna be tricky, because SEC Media Days 2026, you better have a coach with some name, credibility, some equity behind him. And can he recruit? Because there are certain players at Florida right now you definitely want to retain. There are definitely players that's in this recruiting class you want to retain. Can he do both? But bottom line, can he win? Because Billy could. Dan Mullen won, he couldn't recruit. Billy Napier can't win, and he can recruit. You got to have a guy that can do both. Kind of want a mixture of both. And it's somebody out there, like I say, I don't want Scott Strickland problems. I just don't, because he got to get this one right. Yeah. And I don't know who that is, Kevin and I. But it's crazy.
We all kind of think Lane's the guy. My question to you, and I'll start with Kevin on this: what about Drinkwitz? I kind of go hot and cold on him. I like the fact he gave up the play calling last year, realizing it was more than he could handle. I think he's got. I'm told, I don't know him personally. I know Chris Stirring does. He's got a really great sense of humor. He's a solid coach. He's done a great job at Missouri. I just don't know if he's the guy from Florida, Kevin.
I'm the same way, buddy. He has a lot to recommend him, but there's something gives me pause. And I don't know if it's, he tries to be Steve Spurrier like. He's got that sarcastic sense of humor. He'll take a dig at other coaches, other programs here and there. He's not as good. He's not as good at it as Steve was. Nobody is as good at it as Steve was. But Steve could do it because Steve won, and he won big, and he won consistently. And he just had that natural. He just had that natural edge to him, which helped make him a great coach. And something about Eli. Now, Eli's been around it. He was at Auburn very early in his career in 2010 when they had Cam Newton and they won the national championship.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So he's got, and there are some Auburn people that think he might be the right answer there. I'm not convinced of that. And I'm not convinced that he would be the right answer at Florida. And like I said, I can't necessarily verbalize it, but there's something about him that gives me pause.
I was giving you an assignment. You got halfway through it, and I was going to get Ben on here. We talked about give me the fill these jobs. We got to LSU and we stopped. You got me a coach, Kevin, at LSU?
I don't know why Lincoln Riley makes sense to me.
Yeah, it kind of does in a way.
And it was interesting, buddy. And I talked about this on my show today. When I looked at the college football playoff poll with that coming out for the first time this year on Tuesday night. And I looked at how many times each current school in the SEC has been in the college football playoff poll. And obviously Alabama's first. They've been in just about every one, along with Ohio State. And then Georgia's next. But then Oklahoma has been in the playoff poll only 2 weeks less than Georgia. Now, some of that was under Bob Stoops when the playoffs started in 2014, but a lot of that was Lincoln Riley. Now, they didn't do much when they got to the playoff, but they were in the poll virtually every week. Yeah. And so he's done some good things. And I wonder if he's starting to realize, it was a mistake to go to USC, despite the home in the Pacific Palisades and whatever they're paying him.
It's too far away from what he knows. You know what I mean?
And the big, those cross-country trips, that's a real thing. The grind of those cross-country trips in the Big Ten for the West Coast schools, going to Penn State, going to Michigan, going to Ohio State, that's a different animal. And, of course, those schools have to go out west as well. But it's a little different going west to east. I could say that, buddy, going back to my first plane flight from Atlanta to London. That's when the jet lag hits when you go west to east.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Maybe it's fanciful. Maybe it's not real, as you suggested. All kinds of smoke screens being put out by agents and representatives and
lighting them up
coaches.
Every minute.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's real, but I don't know why that resonates with me. That might work. I don't know.
You think of the word gaslight. Yeah. Here's the thing. One thing, and I'll get Ben, you can chime in on this because you've been in different markets. But one thing I found out when I left my small town and went to the big city is that the intimacy I had working for a smaller paper, where when you walk down the street, the local high school team lost. Everybody wanted to talk about it, stop you and ask you the local high school team, to where you have a subscription base of 2 million. And you're walking down the street in New York and nobody even knows who you are, doesn't care to know who you are, and you're not as relevant there as you were in a small pond. Now, I don't know. To me, the intimacy is a big thing, and I felt it when I moved. I don't know. How about you, Ben? Did you feel that when you moved?
Absolutely. I mean, there's something to say about not only somebody recognizing you, but you stopping to talk to them. I mean, the thing about a big city is no one knows anybody because everybody's in a hurry. Everybody got somewhere to be, and I think being in a small town is, not only that person who coming up to you, they might have a shot to make it and, be a part of your article. You might talk about it. I mean, I saw a guy when I was walking in here. It's something to say about stuff like that. And that's what the SEC has done. That's why the SEC, their teams aren't in big cities. Like the ACC.
Right. Great point.
You got Gainesville, you got Tuscaloosa, you got Auburn. Well, because they know, hey man, the fans that's our lifeblood. The fans.
That's a great point. And that's what makes the SEC so great. people at Auburn are really live and die with their team. I mean, they do other places, but those small cities, they have that feel to them. That's exactly right, man. That's a great point.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, when I was, blessed enough to be on ESPN radio, and we in Brunswick, Georgia, we in Savannah, Georgia, even though Savannah's a big city, there's something to say about, somebody noticing who you are. Because as much as people say, man, people don't need affirmation. Yeah, but you'll take it. I don't need to be recognized. Yeah, but you'll take it. Because it's one of those things to say, and they want to know is this you. Then they want to give you a quick take. Everybody got a take now. I heard what you said about, and just to give them the respect of having that conversation with them. Do I got to like what you say? No, but you listening to me. You listen to things I'm saying. So, even, and I know Kevin said, you talk about a guy like Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning, I could see him being at LSU for this reason. A lot of these coaches get opportunities under coaching trees. At first, it was Saban coaching tree. Now, I think the new coaching tree is Kirby Smart. Dan Lanning is a Kirby Smart coaching tree guy. Guys go to the West Coast because no matter what I do, I'm going to be celebrated for it, and I'm so far away from the South, I can't feel that heat. Well, Dan Lanning wants somebody because Oregon, for those, sorry, Oregon fans, y'all got Nike, y'all got Phil Knight, and y'all got 100 different uniform combinations. Outside of that, y'all going to lose to the national championship. And y'all got Marcus Mariota. I think for Dan Lanning, everybody wants to win in the SEC. They ain't going to say it out loud. I'm not going to be the defensive coordinator under Kirby Smart, win the national championship to go to Oregon. And I know I had Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel. I want to win in the SEC because you win in the SEC, everybody respects it.
That's why you come.
I'm just saying, the LSU job, just like the Florida job, you got to have name recognition. You got to have a resume, but you got to have some type of Southern ties. Coach DeBoer over there at Alabama, the culture is so strong, even he can't mess it up. He cannot mess a culture like that up. You can mess it up at LSU. And you can mess it up in Florida.
And these schools have these long tentacles. They race all the way up to Dayton, Ohio, for guys like Loren Meadows, because he was in Dayton and he was a Gator fan.
Oh yeah,
fish out of water.
No doubt.
Loren, how you doing?
How you doing? Yeah, been with it for quite some time, man. Probably about 88, right in that area, and then really fell in love with once Spurrier came, and it was off and running then, man.
I'll never forget the look in your eyes the day you came to the Spurrier's restaurant, and you came with the idea that I was going to introduce you to Spurrier. I didn't get a chance to. You were open there with, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?"
Yeah, man.
One-on-one. Yeah.
It's funny. His daughter said that they met. I guess he was on the book tour, and she was laughing because some guy met him and he started crying. And I said, when I met him, I almost started crying too. So
you know Kevin Scarbinsky, don't you?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Kevin? Good to see you again. Yeah,
good to see you.
We're going to lose Kevin in just a minute here because I've kept him overtime, but I wanted to get everybody's thoughts. We're finishing up the thoughts about coaches going to certain schools, who gets this coach, who gets that coach, the whole Lane Kiffin derby, et cetera, et cetera. I made a reference ago, being a smartass, to the fact that Lane Kiffin, you heard the Beatles song, Penny Lane. I said, well, the Florida Gators got their $81 million lane. Mm-hmm. And Kevin quickly upstaged me by saying, "Yeah, I've been over there to England. I've been to Penny Lane. He's been on." So okay. I couldn't top that one. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. So Kevin, in your final thoughts here, and I'll let you get out of here and get back to what you got to do. We'll be joined by Franz shortly and talk about the basketball game. Last I looked, they were crushing North Florida by about 50, but I don't know what it is now. Kevin, just sort of assess. We started out talking about the cannibalism of the SEC. They're going to 9 games next year. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing for the ratings, and it's going to go up. But they claim they're going to take strength of schedules. Seth Emerson had a good column this week. They finally are beginning to take into consideration strength of schedule. I don't know if I trust him, Kevin, on that.
Well, we're going to find out over the next month because there's a good chance. I mean, what if Alabama loses to Oklahoma in a couple of weeks? What if Texas beats Texas A&M? What if you have a whole bunch of 2-loss teams in the SEC when we get to Selection Sunday? Mm-hmm. That is very possible. And that's why Greg Sankey and the SEC really wanted strength of schedule to be emphasized more by the committee. Strength of record. Strength of record. They supposedly added a strength of record metric. We don't know what the metric is because unlike the basketball committee, which is very open and very transparent about the metrics that they use, that at least they have available, and each committee member emphasizes one more than others, but you know what the metrics are. We still don't know exactly what the metrics are that the football committee is looking at. And it made me a little nervous to hear the chairman the other night say, they combine, it was almost like saying we combine vibes and metrics, the eye test and what our coaches on the committee see. It makes you a little nervous because it's cloaked in secrecy. But we're going to find out a lot over this next month because I suspect we're going to see some chaos.
I always say take your last ham sandwich. Team A, Team B. You got your last ham sandwich. Who you putting in? That's why I look at it. And you
lettuce, tomato, mustard, and pickle. Oh,
there you go. But I mean, yeah. But that's the thing, man. I mean, like, you get teams out there, and you know good and well that this team is better. You don't have to have parity in the conferences. You don't have to have any of that. Pick the 12 best football teams. Period.
This is what we wanted. And now we're kind of afraid of it. The old unintended consequence thing. You think, well, what if they cannibalize each other? Whatever, is that and the other?
Yeah. But buddy, you trying not to say what's the easy thing. You know why football is the best sport? Because the eyes don't lie. They are not lying to you. Mm-hmm. And that's what nobody think about this. We've all seen football, right? We respect what Indiana and Kirk Signetti is doing. We respect it. But if they don't beat Ohio State, because that's who you're going to have to play to win it.
Yeah.
You got to play a team like that. I can respect what you're doing. But sometimes, remember when TCU and Baylor didn't get in? Because they weren't one of the best ones. It doesn't mean they weren't one of the best. You weren't one of the best ones. Because the last teams, TCU, remember that national championship? I know TCU want to forget about it. Because regular seasons aren't created equal, right? It's like this. When you recruit in the SEC, when an SEC player walks in, the room gets quiet because he looks, Mm-hmm. So when it comes to teams, it's the same way. I mean, are you going to have some new blood? Yes. You're going to have some new teams come to the party. But you go, wait a minute, who? And then you're going to say, who are they and who do they play? Right? So, listen, I mean, I know a bunch of people that's boxers. They undefeated. But you know what I asked them, man, who you fought? Okay. You ain't fought nobody that I know. I'm not saying you can't throw a left. Like, Terrence Crawford can't go up and beat Canelo until he does. Because both guys are really, really good. I just think when it comes to college football, buddy, when you say things like, man, you know how long I've been watching college football, and you knew you was looking at then, just like you know what you're looking at now. You know what you're looking at. And college football to me is like the Hall of Fame. If you say somebody's name, you got to go, he ain't in it. Hall of Famers, you say his name, he's in. Oh yeah, that dude right there. Mm-hmm. Football is the same way. When you say, man, I've been seeing remember when NIU was good? Remember when Kellen Moore was at Boise State? And they got rewarded through they call bowl games. That's your reward. But the last 12 teams standing, come on, man. It's not hard to do. We make it hard. We make it hard, but hey, man.
I'll tell you what, Ben. I'll leave you guys with this. You know what's going to happen because everyone thinks it's so hard. It's not going to stay at 12 teams because coaches are getting fired for not making the playoff, and so you're going to see more teams in the playoff. They're going to go to 16 at least.
Of course.
Yeah, get to 16
and 20 and then whatever. I saw this happen in basketball. I remember when they were like, 16 teams? Or,
and it went to 32 and 48.
And they can't resist the money. And so you're going to end up with, 24 teams in the playoffs and coaches' jobs getting saved, whatever. Hey, Kevin, it's great having you on, man. Tell folks about your podcast and where they can hear it and also your writing.
Yeah, best thing to do, follow me on X/Twitter at Kevin Scarbinsky. Keep up with the columns I write every week. You can find those on al.com. And my podcast, you can find that on the Sidelines.live network, of course, with the executive producer extraordinaire, your son, Brendan. And you can also follow my YouTube channel, Kevin Scarbinsky Scarbo Knows. It's been great being with you, buddy. Loren, Ben, great conversation tonight, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks
come
for
back
having me.
again. I hope you come back again, brother.
Be glad to do it.
Thank
you guys have a great
much.
evening.
The great Kevin Scarbinsky. Check him out. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a little commercial here because I do want to get paid. And then we're going to see if our friends should be showing up any minute with the basketball report on you. They unveiled the banner tonight, you know?
Yep.
Put it up there. Were you there?
Yeah, I stayed till halftime.
Yeah.
Then I had to come. I had work to do. I had to come show up for work for the Buddy Martin show. But
absolutely.
but
yeah, 52-28 or something like that.
Yeah. But it was pretty nice.
All right.
Good. Yeah.
Good. Now, all right. So let me do this, Ben. Can you hang for a minute, buddy?
I was about to say, man, I got to get ready to jump off here. That's why I was trying to get on or whatever.
Right.
I was trying to get it in.
We'll let you go. Go ahead and say good
night. All right.
I'll
yes,
catch
sir.
up to you. We'll finish it off here.
I'll talk to you, Ben.
Ben Troupe, 84 reasons.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that love, Loren, man. Appreciate that, brother.
Yes, sir. Always.
For the love. All right.
All right. So we'll come back here. Oh, man, where did Loren go? Hold on. There he is. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And Franz should be showing up. I want to tell you folks about our good friends and our sponsors. I saw a video tonight of the party they had down in South Florida, the new office for Meldon Law down there near Fort Lauderdale, and a bunch of folks showing up down there. Basketball team was there, coach was there, and they're just getting to be an international law firm now. They started out with a lot fewer. They have over 50 attorneys down Meldon Law, and they do an excellent job. I've told you about my personal experience with them. You know about Jeffrey's and his whole family's love for the Gators. And I always say, if you need a lawyer, what better person to get than someone who's honest, who is a good lawyer, and also happens to be a great Gator. Good combination there. So if you need that, you never realize when you're going to need a lawyer. Boy, when you get one, you're grateful to have it. And so there's a few good ones over there at Meldon Law. Check them out. Meldon Law, 4 locations to serve you now. 5 actually, counting one for South Florida. Meldon Law, they want back down. Loren, what did you see the basketball game tonight?
First home game, obviously disappointing debut. I think people really overreacted because it's November. But, still trying to round into form. Condon looked a little bit more aggressive.
He didn't come out after that. We had a bad opening game.
Yeah, had a really nice game. But I guess what kind of concerns me is I think at one time when I came on the show, they were like 3 of 23 from 3-point range. So
they just don't shoot as good.
Right now, not shooting it well. I mean, Xavier Lee was supposed to be a shooter.
Yeah,
Alex
I don't know
Lloyd.
about him. I've got a few doubts about him now.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but they're definitely a team. They showed on the bench, Boogie Flan and Condon having a serious discussion about some things, kind of pointing to the floor, so I think it's just a group that's continuing to learn how to play together, but a group of quality guys. CJ Ingram still kind of getting his feet wet, but definitely shows some of his athleticism. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
he
shows
shoots the rock pretty good.
Shows athleticism. Made a couple really nice floor plays, dishing it off for dunks on the drive. Had a nice dunk himself. So just still getting their time. And I mean, this is not going to be a group that's finely tuned, led by 3 experienced senior guards. It's going to be a group that I think is going to continue to work through it. And they have the non-conference to do so. Now, the beautiful thing is I don't think the SEC will be nearly as strong as last year when it was historically strong. So I think they'll be able to, find their way. And it's definitely a talented group. And Thomas Houck is still about that business. And like I said, Condon, Chinyelu played well. Han Logden looks to be, stronger, a lot more physical, had some really nice blocks, rebounded the ball, cut to the hole. So this is still a second weekend team. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
It is going to take some time, and we'll see what happens. And be patient. They're going to be in there. They may not be number one, but they got to play good the last 6 weeks. And, of course, they had an incredible finish last year. And those 3 senior guards, you see what they're doing in the NBA, they're tearing it up, man.
You see Richard had 30 last night?
30 last night.
Yeah.
Incredible. All right, so now I'm going to drift off on just another little tidbit. I'm going to be the guy get off my lawn old guy for a second, okay? And I say this a lot, and I know people say, "Oh, get with it, buddy." Should there be more regulation about how uniforms are worn and what body parts are exposed? For instance, I saw, and I guess the pregame is always different. They dress differently. Well, I saw tonight out of Max Crosby, who was an all-world sack artist for the Raiders.
Yeah.
He came out there to do a pregame interview, and he had his jersey all the way up, and he had nothing but. I mean, you can have tattoos if you want to. That's fine, but they would just look like a mosaic. Look like a graffiti at 123rd Street in Harlem or whatever. Just all kinds of right in your face, you know. I thought, I don't know if that's a good look or not. I mean, well, you like tattoos or not. And I think myself about these cabana pants that they wear. That drives me nuts. Everybody wants to look like they're going to the beach with they cut off their pants, you know.
Right.
I mean, you know, and let's do it this way. Either we're going to do it that way or not. Let's don't have half. Do it in half. Not. I don't know. Am I overreacting here, Loren?
I mean, contrary to what people may think, buddy, I'm an old school guy too, and you know, I wore the smaller pads, you know, playing, but I did wear pads, and you know, it was for my protection. It was, you know, for me to be, you know, play this violent game as protected as I could be. And yeah, I mean, there should be some uniformity. And I would say for the NFL, that's a corporation. You know, when you work for a corporation, you're supposed to have certain attire, and particularly for a pregame interview, you know, either have a t-shirt on or something like that for the presentation. Is it a big deal? I think it's more of a matter of opinion. So that's your opinion, buddy. And I tend to agree with that. I would kind of meet you in the middle with some of that. Like I know Shane doesn't like that Trey was it Trey? God help me out. Trey, a receiver for Florida. Trey Wilson, excuse me, had a brain fart for a minute. Has yak on the back of his back plate,
right,
and things like that. That doesn't bother me as much. So, like I said, I'll meet you in the middle. But you know, I would say that certain presentations can be tempered down, and to where they're wearing basically shorts and nothing on the knees and things like that. It just concerns me from an injury standpoint. But you know, it's a new age, man. I mean, you know, times are changing, things are changing, and yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not saying you're wrong, because like I said, I tend to be a little bit more old school. Now, I was never a guy that, because I've been a person that always had foot problems, so I was never a big everybody wear the same shoe kind of guy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I had the first pair of low cuts with white laces, and nobody on my team. I had them. I loved them.
Yeah.
You know,
so I mean, I'm not that guy,
yeah.
but I do agree that there should be a little bit more uniformity in some things. Yeah, for sure.
Well, here's the thing: if you know how precise Spurrier was, and if you watch his, I mean, you talk about the guys who played for him, Dorian and Shane, and how you had his landmarks were everything. If you didn't get that landmark right, you wouldn't play. And you had the 7-step drop until they went to the 5-step. Everything for Spurrier, people think you just happy-go-lucky, go out, throw it up. No, it was precision for Spurrier.
Yeah. It's got to be that. There's no way it looks the way it looked if it wasn't.
So uniformity goes with that. And when you go a little wacko and you want to be different, you know, I mean, I understand these wide receivers who want to look like they're going to their cabanas, but anyway, just a small thing.
No, I'm with you.
Kentucky. We haven't talked much about Kentucky. It's I think Florida's favored by 2.5. Not a great game to be playing. They're both about the same in terms of their records and the betting lines, whatever. I wrote a piece for tomorrow about Kentucky. You know, how many times I've been up there. And a lot of times it was to go to the Derby. And in my hometown of Ocala, we raised thoroughbred horses. And we were in competition with the thoroughbreds from Kentucky, who always had the upper hand. So I started out by going to a lot of Kentucky Derbies, a lot. Fortunate enough to be there for things like Secretary, which is great, etc. So I've written more about bets on the horses than on people in the helmets. But also, I also know the history. People don't know this history. Way back when Florida's team wasn't any good, Kentucky had a coach named Bear Bryant and other people, and they were some mean mothers on that squad. I knew the guys that played against them, and they'd beat your face up real pretty good, and they were afraid of guys there. And now, of course, Babe Pirelli's days, and he's gone or whatever. Kentucky's all, and here's the odd part about it: Florida's playing Kentucky, the longest tenured coach in college football, may lose his job. Florida's coach has lost their job, and this is their two teams that are not going to win anything. I don't know. It's kind of an odd day and odd thing. It feels a little bit different. Kind of feels like, as I wrote, feels like an old Florida horse trying to remember how to run again.
Yeah, I mean it's a they haven't got a lot of great play. I mean, Zach Calzado was there at one time, and that hadn't really gone as well. I think they've gone now to Cutter Bowley at quarterback. He's doing okay, but obviously they're not scoring a bunch of points. And it used to be where they could almost Kentucky could almost bore you to death, hit you with the run game. Couple big plays. I mean, obviously they lost Barian Brown and Dane Key at receiver, so they're struggling with some offense. And to tell you the truth, buddy, I think it's a game that if Florida doesn't turn the ball over, I think Kentucky's going to have a hard time scoring on that defense. So as long as Florida can keep the football and maybe handle the weather a little bit, I think it's supposed to be decent there, not super cold where it could have been, this time in November. And just got to kind of find their way. This is a team. I think the one thing I'll say about Florida is that they have, they have the opportunity to still look at the way they've been playing, that they could maybe steal one from a Tennessee or an Ole Miss, take care of Kentucky, take care of Florida State, and then maybe go bowling and give them something to be pleased about and something to have some meaning, going into the end of the season as they look for a new head coach. But this game it's been funny. I was there the night that they left the two receivers wide open. For the touchdown. Happened in front of the last one, happened right in front of Marcia and I. We were also there for the birth of Kyle Trask, the phenomenon that was Kyle Trask. I mean,
when Tebow got hurt.
Yeah. So I mean, so wild things happen in this rivalry, but I think that this is a team that I think Florida is better than, and it's just going to be interesting. I think that the one thing I'll give Billy Gonzalez, him very well, is he's done a great job of keeping this team together and continuing to play hard. And so I think if they get that, they could definitely take out Kentucky. But I mean, it's been a tough road for both. I hate to see Stoops go like this because I think he's a really good football coach. Yeah. But it's just I would say that and I know a lot of people. Here's what I'll say about Kentucky, and maybe this is not Kentucky, but I really like this is the job I like Alex Golish for. Is this job right here? If he was to get an SEC job, I think he'd play really well at Kentucky, going forward.
Basketball game is still going on. Franz texted me and scored just there. While I do this, I want you to think about this final thought. The middle eight. I did some research on it tonight, the middle eight. And, Billy talked about it this past week. It's, of course, the first 4 minutes. It's the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And it's one thing that, that they're working on this week. They'd like to be able to make that work. So talk about what you know about the middle eight and why it matters.
Well, it matters because during that time in a game, it's where big things can happen. It's where you see a lot of times where your drives in, or you're in kind of a 2-minute situation at the end of half where you're trying to get as many possible points as you can. And data shows that usually a team, if they get the ball second half, go 3 and out, then the opposing team scores. But then the opportunity to win the game, if you can go down, particularly get a touchdown out of the half in close ball games, that team tends to win. And it's where things, after you've had all the adjustments made on the sideline going into the half, that's where teams really, okay, we got it kind of figured out. We're going into the half. And then we come out the locker room with all the adjustments that we've made, and we try to execute as best as possible on both sides of the ball, even on special teams. So, it's just important because obviously we saw with Florida, they went down, gave up 2 big plays, boom. Now they're up, they're tied instead of going in. And then they missed the pass that would have, put them up 17-7 and those kind of things. So just those key points going into the half can just be magnified if you don't execute and or make those plays. I mean, think how much better Georgia felt going in 10-10 and then coming out and getting that 3 and out, and then you go on from there. So I think it's just so key in those key points in the game.
Yeah, so I always tell everybody that writes, all stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
Stories played pretty good in the middle, in the beginning and the end, but not the middle. So, all right, this last time we'll talk to the game Saturday. Give me your thoughts about it. Florida's going to go up to the Kroger Field and try to pull something out, and they need some offense. What do you think?
I think if Florida can get to 28 points, they win the football game. And I think that's a decent number. They kind of been around that, but not kind of getting over the top there. I think I think it'd be best to, once again, I really like the fact that they look to involve Jaden Baugh. They should get Vernell Brown, third back, maybe Aiden Mizell. Like I said, if they can keep the ball out of Kentucky's hands from a turnover standpoint, I think they got 4 touchdowns in them. And if they do that, I think the defense will hold, because I'm just not impressed with Kentucky's offense at all. So I think
Loren Meadows, there you go. To catch him with Lowdown with Loren on Tuesday nights. Always a good show. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you very much to our guest tonight. We had a good show. Always these guys, they do a great job. I want to thank our sponsors and our guests. Kevin Scarbinsky for the first time. We'll have him back. He was good. Of course, our regular crew, Ben Franz, is at the basketball game. Thanks to Loren. I want to tell you about Titan MRI and Imaging. 3 locations to serve you in Gainesville. Park Avenue location now, Millennium Center, and one Lake City serving all of Columbia County. They have a special place there because they take into consideration you, the customer, and they're very customer service oriented. And they want you to know that if you can't make their nighttime appointments, they'll make one for you. And one of the really cool things about this place is they have the larger MRI machines. I don't know how often you've had MRIs, but I'm not a fan of getting one of those small tubes. Anything I can do to make that easier is better for me. They know that. They try to make sure that they take care of those needs. If you need insurance, they'll handle most of your insurance now, or you can work with them through their convenient pay plan as well. They've been doing this a while. They're coming to Ocala soon. They have 3 locations in Gainesville. Check them out if you need anything like a CAT scan, MRI. This is your place. Titan MRI and Imaging. Good choice for you to make. Have a great night. We're back on the weekend at some point. Don't forget to subscribe to Gator Bait. Gator Bait has got some of the best. It's your boutique for Gator sports, and there's some fine writers in there. I know a couple myself. Have a great night, folks.